Hey there, Angela here with a quick sequence for hips, core, and pelvic floor. You'll need your yoga mat, a blanket, a long resistance band that you can hold on to, and your yoga blocks. You're going to start on hands and knees with the toes tucked behind you, pulling the hips back towards the heels, and think about the sits bones going straight back. So the sacrum feels like you could put a cup of tea on there and balance it. And you'll walk your hands forward just far enough that you're creating a little bit more space between the hands and the knees. And keep the head above the line of the arms. So we're not looking to round the back here or flex our spine. From this position, you'll shift your body weight forward into the hands, and the hips will come forward of the knees, and that's fine. And then you'll shift your hips back towards the heels. And just doing that a few more times. And we're looking for that nice deep hip flexion. So we're looking for the length of our gluteus maximus muscle as we're shifting the hips back, getting that nice hip flexion. The next time you shift your body weight forward, just adjust the hands back a little bit so they end up under the shoulders and untuck your toes. Right? Take a breath in here, extend the spine. Feel like you could drag the hands apart, and then cat the back, drop the head as you exhale. And then do that again. Take a breath in, extend the spine, and then cat the back, push back, push the floor away, and drop the head. All right, from here, come back to a neutral position. Just going to get the hips a little more warm. You can grab your blocks, place them underneath your hands, and step the right foot forward. We'll tuck the left toes and lift the left knee off the floor. Now, even if you can do this with your hands on the floor, I'm going to encourage you to come up onto blocks so we can create a little bit more space in the front of that right hip joint here. Dig the right heel down, send that left heel back in space. So now that right glute might be getting a little bit more of a stretch. You might feel this a little bit in the hamstring. You might feel your right quad working. The less weight you have in the hands, the more work your glutes have to do. The other thing to do is test lifting the hands up and notice if your pelvis goes into an anterior tilt. Right? Can you keep the front of the pelvis lifting up? You're just going to switch sides. However you want to get your left foot forward, and your right foot back, switch sides into this lunge position. So again, up on the tips of the fingers, we want to try and create some space in the front of that left hip joint here. That right heel's going back in space, and you're digging the left heel into the floor. So you feel that left glute, that left hamstring maybe working for you. You might even feel that left quad a little bit. And test, right, when you take your hands up, so you all of a sudden feel your low back starting to overwork, right? That tells me that the TAs, the transverse muscles, need a little wake up. All right, from here, we'll turn our blocks down to a stable height and step back to a downward facing dog pose, taking a breath in and taking a breath out. Go ahead, release the knees to the floor, set the blocks off to the side, and then grab that long resistance band. We're gonna place it around the lower ribs. So go around the lower ribs with that band. And you wanna make sure that you can have some more tension on the band. So when you grab the band with your hands, and I like to hold it between the thumb and the index and the hook of the thumb and index finger, right? You can have your elbows bent, and then you'll pull on the band to create that tension while you bring your hands to the floor. Now I know this can be a lot on the forearms, so if you need to have a little less tension, have a little less tension. Right, because you're actively using those arms at this point. We want the tension of the band, and we don't want the band to snap out from underneath our hands. So you're going to inhale, come into that cow pose, and then exhale, push into the band as you come into the cat pose, and then come to a neutral position. So neutral position, slide the left leg back behind you. Did that left hip drop down? Can you keep that teacup balanced on your sacrum here? And as you lift the left leg into the air, keep lifting the rib cage into the band and pull, grab that band with the right hand, pull that band off to the right side. So the right hand is floating off to the right side of the room. And the left side rib cage, rather than twisting with that, is countering that, lifting up into that band. Release the right hand down, release the left knee down, switch sides. Slide the right leg back behind you. All right, again, teacup on the sacrum, rib cage lifting into the band. As you lift the right leg, you're going to grab the band with the left hand as you reach that left arm off to the left. All right, breathe in here and breathe out. From there, bring the left hand down, bring the right knee down. Sit back on your heels. Go ahead, let go of that band, set it off to the side. If you need to do a little wrist roll, wiggle your fingers, that's fine. And then come back to downward facing dog. Breathe in here. And breathe out and just see if where that band was, you have just a little bit more feedback and information to stay lifted. Come forward to your plank position. All right, lower all the way down to the ground. Stretch the toes to the wall behind you. Adjust your hands a little bit forward of the shoulders, elbows out to the sides, and lift into a cobra pose. So you can use your arms here and you can turn your head from side to side. Release yourself down, readjust the hands, tuck the toes. Push up and back, downward facing dog. And you can press through hands and knees, or you can press through plank. And we're gonna bring a blanket underneath the right knee here and release both knees back down to the ground. So you don't have to have the blanket super folded, but if you want a little bit more motion in the hip joint, then you can fold up your blanket so it has a little bit more thickness. Hands under shoulders, toes tucked but touching the floor. Left knee on the ground, right knee on the blanket. You're gonna pull that left hip back towards the ceiling so that left knee is just higher than the blanket, and then lower that left knee back down to the floor. So you're just pulling the left hip back and lowering it down. So you want this idea that you're pushing the right knee into the blanket to pull the left hip down. I think about blinds that have the chain. When you're pulling on one side down, the other side is going up, and that's what's happening here. You want to make sure that we're not going into catting of the back here, but that we are just finding that neutral position of the pelvis to give us the range of motion we like here. Now, the next time that left knee is off the floor, you're going to stay there and pick the left toes up off the floor. Hip is still in flexion. Reach your right arm off to the right. Remember what that was like with the band behind the back? And start to reach the left leg back behind you. Take a breath in here and a breath out. Put the right hand back down. Lift that left hip up towards the ceiling. We're just going to swing that left foot off to the left side of the mat. And then we're going to pull ourselves up so that we are in a kneeling position. That left knee is about 90-degree angle here. And we're just going to send that left knee over the toes, shifting the pelvis towards the left heel and coming back. All right, so you're just shifting over to the left and coming back. And so we're getting a nice length through the inner thighs here. Breathing in, breathing out. Take another breath in here and another breath out. All right, let's land with the hips over the right knee so you can straighten out the left leg. Turn the toes forward. Left foot in line with the right knee. You're gonna bring your hands to the floor. Once again, walk your hands forward towards the top of the mat. Shift the hips back towards the back of the mat. Think about the sits bones going straight back in space, right? So if there's tension on the hamstring or the adductors, we're going to end up in that flexion of the spine. Let the pubic bone move straight back in space. Breathe in here. Breathe out. Walk the hands back towards the blanket. Put a block underneath your right hand and then twist open to the left. Go for it. Lean back. Enjoy that nice length. You can just bend that left knee and heel toe that left foot all the way towards the front of the mat. Once the foot's on the mat and the right hand's down, you can take a lunge twist. Stretch that right leg back. Breathe in here. Exaggerate the spread of the palms, especially if you know you're on your phone a lot. And breathe out. Release the left hand down. Set the block off to the side. Step back to a down dog. You just move your blanket over to the other side. But just pause in that down dog position for a moment. See if it feels like that whole left thigh is kind of sitting back in the hip socket with more ease. You're going to release the knees back down. Blanket under the left knee. Right knee on the floor. Toes stay tucked. Arms stay straight. We're looking for that neutral position of the pelvis. So when you push the left knee down, that right hip draws up and then the right knee goes down. Right, so we're rotating our pelvis around our fixed left thigh. Right, we'll call these hip drawbacks. So you're drawing that right hip back towards the ceiling and then lowering it down. And you can definitely get some lower abdominal work happening here as well if you keep that spine, or that pelvis, neutral. So do two more on this side. Keep weight in that right hand. We tend to shift everything to the side that the blanket's under. And then lift the right knee to the height of the left knee, picking the right toes up off the floor. So you're keeping that in flexion. You're going to reach your left arm off to the left. Imagine you have that resistance band behind the back ribs and stretch that right leg back behind you. Take a breath in here and a breath out. Go ahead, release the left hand down, lift the right hip up, and just step your right foot off to the right side. So walk the hands back, use your butt muscles to help you come all the way into what I call broken gait, right? So the right knee's at a bit of a 90-degree angle. You can put your hand on your hip, hand on the knee, send that right knee over the toes and come back, and send the knee over the toes and back. And again, we're just looking for that nice stretch through the adductors. You cannot think of your inner thighs as an extension of the pelvic floor. So let's end up with the pelvis over the left knee. Slide the right leg off to the side, back it up if needed so it lines up with the left knee. Toes point forward, hands down. Walk your hands forward in space a bit and then shift the hips back in space. Right? And if this is a lot for you, right, the sensation's a lot, you can always shift forward and back like you did at the beginning in the squat prep. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale and exhale. All right, you're going to shift forward again. Like walk the hands back. Block is going under the left hand. You're going to twist open to the right. So twist open, lean back here. Really exaggerate the spread of the right palm. And then just bend the right knee and kind of walk your right foot onto the mat forward in space. All right, you can keep the left hand down, tuck the left toes, straighten out that left leg, and take your lunge twist here. Breathe in and breathe out. Release the right hand down, set the blanket off to the side, set the block off to the side, and step back, downward facing dog. And hopefully you feel a little more balance in the hips. Inhale, come forward to a plank pose. Exhale, lower down to your push-up. Inhale through your back bend. Exhale, release from that. Tuck the toes, push up and back to hands and knees, and come back to a child's pose. So let's point the toes this time, separate the knees, sink the head and chest to the floor. Take a breath in here. And a breath out. Take another breath in here. And another breath out. From here, walk the hands back towards the knees. You're going to swing the legs around. You're going to set one block up behind you. You're going to set the blanket just folded in half on top of the block. And then you're going to almost like a supported fish lay back. But you're going to make sure that the front edge of that block and blanket are kind of touching at the lower rib cage area, and the knees are bent here. Right, so we're in a bit of a crunch-like position. Right, so now we're really looking to draw the front rib cage down towards the hip points here. You can just place the hands behind the head, so the shoulder blades are not on the blanket at all, and you can just stay here. This might be perfect for you. You might be like, okay, if at any point you start to feel lots of tension on the front line, you can lean back and then curl yourself up, remembering to pull the front ribs down towards the front of the pelvis. Now, if you're working with any abdominal separation, right, you're going to check that this is right for you. If it's not, you're just going to lay on your back with the knees bent, right, and you can have a block under your head, and you're focusing on hip points cinching together, back ribs anchoring into the floor, right? So that's what you do, right, if this is just a little too much right now, right? So whether you're on your back or you're here, you're going to pick your right leg up into the air like a half march. Take a breath in. And if you want to stay here in the exhale, or straighten out the right leg as you exhale. And then inhale, bend the knee. And exhale, straighten the leg. Inhale, bend. No pushing your stomach up. Exhale, straighten. And inhale, bend. Put the right foot down. All right, if you are upright, go ahead, lean back. If you're on your back, you can drop your knees from side to side, and then we'll come into this again. So if you're in the curled up position, the front ribs are pulling down. If you're on your back, you're thinking back ribs into the floor. There's similar actions, what's happening right now. All right, and then we'll pick the left leg up into the air. Take a breath in. You either keep the left knee bent or exhale, extend the left leg. And then inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, extend the leg. Inhale, bend. Exhale, extend. One more. Inhale. And exhale, put the left foot down. Go ahead, lean back. If you're on your back, stay there. If you are in this variation of supported fish, straighten out the legs. Lift your head up. One more time. Think about front ribs down as you curl your way up. Nice. Well, keep the blanket, but ditch the block. And then come onto your back. Knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Oops. Right. From here, you can just drop your knees a bit from side to side. Getting a little windshield wiper, relax the belly. You can always rub right where the front ribs are, right where the breathing diaphragm attaches. And then we're just going to cross the right ankle over the left thigh. Drop the left knee over to the left, so you're still in half ankle to knee. And let maybe some of you, the right foot comes to the floor. Otherwise, just point that right knee towards the ceiling, getting a little bit of a stretch here, a little bit of a twist. Breathe in and breathe out. And then come back to center. All right, you can hug that left knee into the chest for a little half ankle to knee, or you can cross the knees one over the other. That gets a little bit deeper into some of those deep hip rotators. And then we'll release that and take it to the other side. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Drop the right knee to the right. So the left foot might hit the floor, it might not. The left knee is pointing towards the ceiling. So getting maybe a little bit of a stretch here, maybe just a little bit of a rotation. You can reach your left arm to the left as you take a breath in and take a breath out. And then come back to center. Right, again, you can hug the left knee into the chest for that half ankle to knee position, or you can cross the legs so there's no space between the thighs, and then come into that variation of cow face pose on the back. And don't worry if you can't grab your feet, you can grab your shins or knees. And then unwinding out of the shape you're in, letting the feet come to the ground. Let's just stretch out each leg for a moment. Notice when you do this, if you feel tension in the low back or kind of a shifting of your pelvis and legs towards the front of your mat. If that's the case, simply bend your knees, keep the knees bent, turn the feet in, heels out, and then just drop the knees together. Just 5 breaths here. So it was a short practice, but got you moving, got you active. Take a steady breath in and a breath out for 1. Inhale. Exhale for 2. Breathe in. Breathe out for 3. Inhale. Exhale for 4. Breathe in. Breathe out for 5. If your day allows you to stay, stay. Otherwise, wiggle the toes, the fingers, roll up the wrists and the ankles, and then rolling over to one side, making your way up to sit. Just so that you can take that conscious pause as you get ready to transition from being on your mat to being off your mat. See where you are without judging it, without thinking it should be something other than what it is. It's okay to feel anxious. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to feel happy. All the feelings will shift and change as our day does. I'm just placing the hands where you'd like them as you drop the chin to the chest, bowing your mind to the heart, honoring your practice, your willingness to meet yourself with wherever you're at without judgments. Namaste. Thanks for being here and practicing. If you have questions, please reach out.